Good morning and welcome. It is September 14th and it is Taco Tuesday here at WiLS. My name is Jeff Bruner with WiLS, and I am excited to be welcoming you to our Taco Tuesday session for today. We've got four great presenters for you today. In fact, three of them are our vendor partners, but we decided to take one slot from Taco Tuesday this month for our own benefit to share a little bit about some of the recent updates and enhancements to the MyWiLS platform that you all use. But that comes later. The first person that I want to introduce today is Lisa. She's joining us from Infobase. So Lisa, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can share yours and get us underway.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jeff. And just need you all to confirm, or at least one of you to confirm. You can see my screen?
We can. Looks good.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let me go into presentation mode. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, WiLS, for inviting me for 15 minutes here on Taco Tuesday. Today, we're going to be talking about critical thinking in a little demonstration I'm calling Infobase Quick Hits. We're going to talk about 3 resources, doing about 3 minutes on each, to give you a little tour of what we have to offer public libraries, academics, and K-12s dealing with this very important issue of critical thinking. I got the idea for this presentation after a conversation with my 8-year-old niece, where she said quite definitively, kind of out of the blue, that dogs' mouths are cleaner than humans' mouths. And I found that to be, she was just so confident about it that I asked her where she heard that, thinking that maybe she heard it on a science show or learned it in school. And she said she heard it from Thomas. Thomas is my 11-year-old nephew. And I can say pretty definitively that he is not a reputable source. So this is a very interesting idea, but it's something that I recognize in myself. I recognize it in my friends and family all over the world. We get very comfortable with our own sources that we go to for information. But it's important to not only teach 18-year-olds entering colleges and universities, but 8-year-olds who are relying on their 11-year-old cousins for information, and 80-year-olds who are making up decisions about their own healthcare, to make sure that we're constantly building critical thinking skills. Infobase has 3 resources. Actually, we've got a number of resources that will focus on critical thinking skills, but for today's demonstration, I'm going to be talking about 3 of them. The first, Credo reference; second, issues and controversies; and third, polling the nations. Credo reference, I'm beginning with, I'm happy to say that we were named by Library Journal as the must-have reference resource, general reference resource for public libraries and academic institutions in 2020. So we were called the gold standard. We're quite happy about that. I'm going to be telling the story about using Credo reference to build critical thinking skills, as this is a place where you're going to come first to find citable background information from multiple sources. And the key of, a key tool in teaching critical thinking is having access to multiple sources and understanding where those sources come from, and kind of making up your own mind and using fact-based information from these sources to determine what you're going to make up your, cause you to make your decisions. I'm going to move on to issues and controversies, which is a resource that really stares critical thinking in the face. It takes popular hot button topics of today, things that are in the news all the time, and writes a very sober, non-biased, non-partisan article that offers multiple viewpoints. And this is the goal. We'd love to have respectful discourse again. And this is a resource where you can really learn to have respectful discourse, to understand that people who disagree with you probably have reasons why they disagree with you. They might not be shouted from the airwaves, but this is why databases and libraries in general can be so useful, to help you understand that you can have respectful debate and you can change your mind. The third thing I'm going to focus on today is polling the nations. And this is great once you start with the foundational information about, defining whatever it is you're going to define. And today I'll use the idea of vaccinations all through these three databases. In Credo reference, you're going to get your information about vaccinations from reference. Then we're going to look at articles from Issues and Controversies that looks at different arguments around vaccinations from multiple points of view. And then we're going to look at Polling the Nations, which is a resource that offers over 700,000 original poll questions from over 18,000 surveys conducted from 1986 to the present from all over the world. And these are fascinating because you're able to look at polls throughout time, how trends change, how viewpoints change. It's a little sleeper resource that I think talk about enough, Polling the Nations, but it's a lot of fun to use as well. And we'll take a look at that. So let's dive in quickly and take a quick look at Credo reference to start. All right, I paused my screen. I'm resuming now. So you should all see the Credo reference platform. Why do I start with Credo reference? Because this is a place to get background information. We are reference only, encyclopedias, dictionaries, atlases. When teaching critical thinking, it's important to talk about checking multiple sources. You might say, well, Credo reference is one source, but it isn't. It's a bookshelf of over 1,000 sources from over 100 publishers of academic reference. You can scroll our bookcase, you can scroll our subject dropdown, you can scroll our publisher dropdown. You'll find fact-based background information on any topic, all of our content thoroughly vetted by editors of those publishing houses. We have content in hopefully every area of study that might be interesting. It's a place you can come instead of Wikipedia, where there might be some opinion and practical jokers slipping in articles all the time. You can come here and be confident that you're starting with solid citable background information. So as I mentioned, we'll use vaccination because it's just so in the news right now. So I'll choose vaccination as my search. And if I'm a beginning researcher in high school or college or community college, I do a search on vaccination and I scroll down, and from Credo reference, what I'm going to get is a survey of reference information about vaccines. Since we're getting content from over 100 publishers and we have content in over 80 subject areas, you'll be looking through multiple lenses. So we have inoculation and vaccination from the American Enlightenment Encyclopedia. A dictionary of microbiology, molecular biology will just give you solid, citable, scientific definitions. We have an encyclopedia of culture wars. Vaccine arguments didn't start in 2021. We've been having them since the beginning of America, back with the smallpox vaccine. Religious law in America. So you're going to be getting all kinds of different points of view, testing your assumptions. All of this is fact-based. All of it includes full citations. And we have a little steering wheel of a mind map that will allow you to kind of open up new avenues of research, see terms that maybe are brand new to you, and continue exploring on that theme. So that's Credo reference. Now we have the background information that we need to confidently step forward and start building our arguments, right? Start building our debates and our paper topics. Issues and Controversies is that little meaty tool where you're going to find, again, hot button issues being discussed all the time, broken down in a very sober academic way, so we can actually have conversations instead of yelling matches. So we have hundreds of articles over the years that offer multiple points of view on these topics. So I'll click on mandatory vaccinations, something that was written in April 2021 of this year. And you'll note as you scroll down, we have little synopses of different points of view on mandatory vaccinations. And you can skip down to get into the meatier content as well. Thorough background information written by our publishers, our editors, stripped of partisan language and bias meticulously. Then you'll get a robust article on supporters' arguments for mandatory vaccination, and then opponents. We'll also aggregate information related to the term or the topics. We have primary source material, court cases, multimedia, editorials from different newspapers, and news articles in general. If you're working with students who are exhausted of the current media cycle, but you still want them to exercise their critical thinking skills, you can choose topics from, years ago. And I'll choose something that isn't quite so politically charged. I'll say, celebrity gossip, for example. This is a greater topic, and you can see all the different articles that we have written throughout the years, which will offer opposing viewpoints. So we really run the gamut in the topics that we cover, but these are great starting points for really talking about debate in a respectful way. The third resource I want to talk about is one of my favorites, over 700,000 original poll questions, and from really reputable sources. So we have this big search box. You can search anywhere you want, but I'm going to click these 3 lines here, and this is what I'll focus on in my 3 minutes, my 3 remaining minutes. You can find polls by topics, by locations, or by sources. Speaking to librarians, I know sources are important. So I want to make sure that you guys know who's giving us these polls, where we're pulling from. Big news, mainstream media, as well as more serious polls, Quinnipiac, Pew Research Center. We have, I think, hundreds or thousands of polling sources, anything from like the National Science Foundation to AARP to Newsday to Newsweek. We also have the National Pasta Association. So it's all kinds of polls, which is great for teaching what polling is. What types of polls would the National Pasta Association, put out there? And why might they do that? So you can start having conversations about what polling is, and is there bias in polling, and looking at the source of the polls. I'm not going to stick on National Pasta Association. Let me go back to topics. And I'm going to go again to our favorite topic, vaccination. And click on that. And then we'll get polls from July 2021 from Siena College Research Institute, for example. And I can use this little toggle to back when we weren't constantly talking about vaccines, just like 3 years ago. We'll get a whole different set of polls that have nothing to do with the word mandatory or nothing to do with our own personal health at the moment. So you can kind of go back in time and look at different polls throughout history. This is from November 2018. Which of these terms refers to health benefits occurring when most people in a population get a vaccine? This is from the Pew Research Center. So you can view by topic. And then lastly, this was kind of fun. You can go by location. So I did Connecticut this morning. I should probably do Wisconsin, but this was I actually learned something, and it was I had a very critical thinking moment. I clicked on Connecticut and I said, I don't want any election stuff. So I'm going to go back. I grew up in Connecticut. Go back to when I was growing up. And I clicked to 1986 to 2001. And I just clicked on the first poll. And I remember being super surprised by this poll. Who do you most admire? And who's your second choice? And George Bush beat the Pope by a huge number. And so my immediate thought was, who put this poll out? Was it like the Bush family? You know what I mean? Was it? And then I look at who put it out. It was Gallup. And then I look at the date. So history and context is important. This is a couple months after September 11th, when the president was extremely popular all around the country. But this is just one poll that I stumbled on in all these 700,000 polls. And I had a little lesson about how important it is to put polls in context. And I don't mean to make any political statement. It's just very rare to see a poll where someone is so much more popular than the Pope in that way that I was just like, who did this? But it's a lot of fun to use. This is Polling the Nations. I could spend all day on here, and you guys could too. I've hit my 15-minute mark. I want to thank Jeff and the Taco Tuesday people for giving me the time. I'm going to stop sharing at this point. Thanks all.
Thank you, Lisa. That is fascinating. I'm always thrilled to see some of the cool things that can be done with resources, things that I never would have considered checking out. So thanks so much for sharing that with us today. So we are going to move to our next presenter today. Joining us from Baker and Taylor, we have Sammy. Sammy, are you still on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can. So
Okay,
I'm going to
great.
go ahead and I'm going to stop my screen sharing
Okay.
so that you can take the reins and share your own.
All right. If you could let me know if you can see my PowerPoint.
I do. I see it says DEI analysis.
That's great. Okay. Thank you, Jeff and WiLS, for having me here, and thank you everyone for attending. My name is Sammy Kumor. As Jeff stated, I'm with Baker & Taylor. I am an enterprise sales manager for the U.S. Central region. I work with libraries at a very high level with their entire workflow. And I'm really, really happy to be here today to speak with y'all about some new diversity, equity, and inclusion analysis tools that Baker & Taylor has released. So just a little bit about Baker & Taylor for those of you who don't know. We've been a trusted partner for libraries, providing books, digital content, and library-related technology for nearly 200 years in total. Our core mission is to help libraries improve community outcomes through literacy and learning. We're also very, very proud of the fact that we are the only partner to libraries that can integrate in its entire workflow. From the selection, deselection, and acquisition part of things to digital content and community engagement, technical service solutions, and then the data analytics and artificial intelligence when it comes to your collection, which is what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. So why is it important to analyze your collection for diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, as I will refer to probably from here on out? Well, a lot of things came to the forefront during the pandemic, be it because of lockdown or isolation or quarantine. It goes beyond just your collection and goes beyond just including issues around race, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, et cetera, which might be what comes to top of mind first and foremost when you hear the term DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion. A few months ago, ALA, American Library Association, released their State of Libraries for 2021. It was a special COVID-19 edition. And what they said within that report, if you don't have that report or haven't read that report, I strongly encourage you to do so, and I'm happy to send you a link to it. But it told us that, as always, communities are looking to libraries for information, and therefore libraries are constantly trying to fight disinformation. I'll go with the same topic that my predecessor Lisa used, which is, vaccine and masks and information around vaccines. Libraries are constantly trying to fight disinformation. So this type of information, diversity, equity, inclusion, all of that goes so much beyond just what might tend to come to mind initially, and it's beyond just the collection. If you're a manager, it's dealing with it within your employees or an organization. If you're an employee, it's dealing with it with management or your coworkers, or just a citizen of your community and dealing with it when it comes to your neighbors, and not just dealing with it, but of course, more importantly, understanding it. So what this report told us is that there are inequities in collection development around the country, and libraries are overrepresented in challenges and underrepresented on the shelves. So having a healthy diversity, equity, and inclusive collection within your library is healthy for communities because it provides better understanding. And this was the motivation behind Baker & Taylor to create the various DEI tools that I'm going to talk about. So for those of you who are not familiar with Collection HQ, it is the world's leading collection performance improvement solution. In a nutshell, Collection HQ allows a library to better assess and understand its existing collection. Because only from there, once you understand how your collection has performed presently and in the past, can you get a better grasp on how to move forward with collection development. So naturally, building this DEI analysis tool within Collection HQ made all the sense in the world. So we delivered a module that's part of Collection HQ back in July. So all of our existing Collection HQ customers automatically gained access to this tool at no additional cost. And it is designed to improve the supply of diverse content and identify gaps to meet the needs of a library-specific community. It is available, as I said, within Collection HQ. It is also available as a one-time or subscription DEI only. So for non-Collection HQ customers, if you decide you just want to address the DEI piece of your collection, you can do that with this tool that we'll be releasing probably as soon as the end of this month or early next month. And again, that will be available as a one-time analysis or as a DEI only subscription. So it's kind of a CHQ light, if you will. So this analysis tool this analysis tool provides 12 diversity, equity, and inclusion categories. And we arrived at these categories by working with librarians, publishers, and experts, including our own internal team from all around the country to come up with these tools. We use 3 data points to arrive at these topics. And then when it came to assigning a specific title, a diversity topic, we used BISAC, our partners at Kirkus, and then our own internal Baker and Taylor collection development team. We are in the process of adding a 4th data point, which would be the Library of Congress subject heading. So stay tuned for that to be a 4th data point that's added into this. The DEI analysis can work for your library at a system-wide level or branch by branch or selected libraries. You know, some larger urban libraries identify certain locations as regional branches. So maybe you want to do this at a regional level. Maybe you want to do it at every branch level, or if you're a smaller library, maybe you just want to do it at the the system level. It's just as simple as checking a box to give you that flexibility as far as which libraries and branches you want to assess the collection of. So once you make that selection, then you're ready to look at your overview and export it into Excel. And you quickly have a total number of diverse items within your collection based on the subject topics that we identified. You also have a total number of other items not identified as diverse, so you can get a quick percentage of diverse content within your entire collection. This also can include digital content such as ebooks and the audiobooks through Access 360, Overdrive, and so forth. And it can even include your non-circulating items if you choose so, such as reference materials, if you're interested in seeing how that falls into various DEI categories. So once you've selected your branch, you then export to Excel, and that gives you a total circulation and turnover rate of specific titles. And this also gives you, I'm sorry, am my screen not moving or is it moving? Jeff, can you let me know? Because I think.
Sammy, I can see that your mouse pointer is moving around.
What's the slide that's currently up?
It says diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's got, oh, now it's gone to evaluate system-wide.
Okay, I apologize, you all. It was not moving along with my clicker here. Okay, so apologies. Thank you, Jeff. So once you export, now you can look at your total circulation and turnover rates. And you can also, as you can see from this screenshot, view which qualifiers were used to assign this title, that specific diversity topic or topics, because as you can see, sometimes a title is, more than one qualifier was used, of course, and more than one topic was assigned based on those qualifiers. So if we go back into the the database, the product itself. This is where you can view your results and you can refine your results. The headers are also a filter, so you can, get a little more refined in terms of what you're trying to examine. And also, this is where you have the ability to modify diversity topics. Maybe a title was given more than one diversity topic and you don't agree, your staff does not agree with one or the other. You do have the ability to modify that internally for your own collection. So once you have done the piece of identifying your existing collection, then Baker and Taylor is also going to be available to help you fill those gaps, if you will. And we do that with our exclusive work with Kirkus, our selection lists that are published on our specific diversity and inclusion selection list that we publish on Title Source 360. And of course, you'll always have access to the expert Baker and Taylor and Follett teams to help you with that a little further in terms of identifying those gaps and building off of your existing collection. So the way I look at the DEI analysis is it's really a two-part process. The first part we just talked about, that is identifying your existing collection and identifying what titles you might want to add to that to complement those or to improve upon that collection. The second part of it is ensuring that your community and your patrons can actually easily identify and discover this content. And so that's where we go to our cataloging utility, which is BTCat. BTCat came out about a year and a half ago, released it. It's a web-based full cataloging utility and database. However, as we broke out the DEI analysis tool out of Collection HQ, we're also going to break out a very specific DEI tool for your cataloging records out of BTCat. So we've created a turnkey retrospective MARC record enhancement tool. We can run this report for you as a one-time report, which will allow us to update subject headings for easier discovery within your catalog, insert BISAC subject headings into your MARC records, change some outdated Library of Congress subject headings, and add some of that diversity metadata into your subject headings that make them more easily discoverable. I think a good example, and it's good to understand that the way we viewed diversity 10, 15, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, might not be the way diversity is viewed or searched for today. So a good example is most people don't use the word illegal aliens anymore. We use undocumented immigrants. So it's important to modify that metadata, and we can do that for you in a very efficient way. BTCat, this piece of BTCat, again, is available as a one-time analysis. So we'll ask you to extract all of your records out of your catalog. We will run them through ourselves, and we will make sure we identify and correct the adequate subject headings for your diversity content only. You can do it as a DEI only subscription, where on a quarterly basis, we will continue to help you to analyze that collection and new titles that have come in. Or you can subscribe to this as a utility only tool, which gives you access to the full utility, where you can create macros and utilize the pre-built macros within the tool to work with all of your records for your entire collection and not just the DEI. So as a whole, what we're looking to help libraries do here is, of course, analyze your existing collection, identify gaps within those collections, provide you with custom selection lists to help fill those gaps, and then from the metadata and cataloging standpoint and workflow, address some of those new collection codes or subject headings and help you to easily modify that within your existing collection. Then, of course, moving forward, Collection HQ and BTCat can help you track the performance of those diverse titles so that you ensure that the work that you've done and that you've put in is making an impact, and that that those titles are being more easily found within your collection. I realized that this was a lot of information. I had tried to stay as high level as I could, but please feel free to take down my information, reach out to me by phone or by email or through WiLS. I'd love to have a more deeper dive conversation with you and your library about this. But thank you so much for your time, and thanks to WiLS for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Sammy. I think we had one question come in, and I think we can probably take just a minute to pass it on to you. It says here, sorry if I missed this, but can you talk about what the process is for getting the collection input for analysis for libraries that aren't participating in Collection HQ already? Is that something you think you can answer, or should we maybe?
No, I'd love to answer that. Yeah. So if I understand, let me just stop sharing my screen here. If I understand the collection, so the process is essentially the big piece of what the library would have to do. Again, it depends on if you are doing this as a one-time or if you decide to do the subscription of the DEI. Because again, we did break this out into, it's going to be available as a standalone subscription. So if that's the case, then you simply would have access to the DEI tools only. And there would be an API into your catalog, and you would extract that information, and the tool would analyze and assign those titles that are DEI, and then you could do your work and do your analysis within those titles that have been assigned or determined as DEI content. If you're just doing the one time, then we would take a data extraction from your catalog that you would provide, and then we would perform the analysis, and we would give you access to a dashboard that you would have access to for a 3-month period, so that you can make sure that you've looked at everything and gathered all the pertinent data that you need, and give yourself plenty of time to perform that gap analysis that you might want to perform based on that information. So either way, you're going to have to do some data extraction, but if you're a DEI analysis subscription customer, that would be more of an automated process. If it's a one-time, then we would require you to provide us with a data extraction from your catalog. And I hope that answered your question. And again, if not, I'd be happy to take this offline, not to eat up into the next presenter's time too much.
Thank you, Sammy.
You're welcome.
Without knowing too much of the technical details, it sounded right to me.
Great.
So
All right.
That's great. Thanks for doing that.
Very welcome.
Let me go ahead and share my screen again to set us up for our next presenter. Coming up next for us today is Debbie, joining us from Transparent Language. Debbie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Okay, I know you're getting started a little bit later than the schedule says, so please feel free to go up until like 20 past the hour if that works for you.
Okay.
All right,
you.
I'm going to stop my share so that you can share your own, and we'll be ready to go.
All right. Okay, can you see the dog?
I do.
All right, so there we go. That is Duff. So I'm Debbie McDonald, and it is very nice to be with you guys today. Let me just get set up. I am not good at talking and clicking at the same time, so wish me luck. But thank you to WiLS and Jeff and Sarah for inviting me to join everybody at Taco Tuesday. I'm going to give you a little background here about Transparent Language Online, and then I'll jump into the website and give you a preview of some things to come. So let me dive in right here. So Transparent Language has been around for 30 years and has been working with libraries for a long time. And there's a real big need for language learning. You know, our population is getting more and more diverse. There's globalization. There's a growing demand for lifelong learning. And of course, it's a great way to learn about other cultures. We have over 118 languages available. And this includes the 32 ESL or You know, some people say ELL, I've heard EL, but you know what I mean, I'm sure. This also includes KidSpeak, which is language learning for children. It's immersive and it's animated, so you don't see words on the screen. It's targeted at a K2 level, K to second grade level, because this age group, they're just not big readers, but they're good at clicking on the screen and seeing like what's there and learning the language that way. As an adult, I find it kind of fun. I mean, animation and song and cartoony type of screens, it's kind of fun. So we focus on the 4 core learning skills, which are speaking, listening, reading, and writing. It's very important to use all of these in combination for successful learning. In transparent language online, learning is adaptive and personalized, which means if you're going through your words and phrases and you miss one, it understands that there's an algorithm and it'll throw it back at you. The whole idea is for you to learn your material so that it will stick with you for the long term. And then, you know, we've got 2 major system components. This is what your patrons see. And over here, you can run reports. So this is an example of the language usage report. And now I will skip ahead to the website. Now, when you come into transparent language online, we will ask you to choose a language that you want to learn. And you can jump in and out of these at any time. But right now I'm going to show you German because that is what I am working on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on German. And you can see German is available for speakers of many languages. Like if you are Spanish, you can learn German, but I speak English, so I'm going to go to German here. And then what you see here is my learning path. I can browse, there's a transcript I can run. This is very popular with homeschoolers. There's various resources, and I'll also show you KidSpeak. But for right now, I just want to show you some of the ways that you can learn German. And I'm on, you know, lesson 1, unit 1, and there are many words and phrases within this section. So I'll go to learn, and then there'll be an overlay here, which will tell me what to do. I'm going up here to the menu, and you'll see that I'm working on lots of different ways of learning my 10 to 15 words. In Foursquare, this is a game. It gives you instructions. After a while, if these instructions drive you crazy, you can always disable the overlays. So that's just one way so that you can learn those words. And I'm just playing a little game there. I could go to pronunciation practice and testing 1, 2, 3. I've just enabled my microphone there, and it will speak Guten Morgen here. I can play it or I could slow it down, and then I can record it myself. And this will gauge how I do. So this is just another way of working on those core learning skills. I could come over here, it would say, hey, Guten Morgen, and I will answer it and move on. Again, just multiple ways of learning. Up here at the top, if I go to browse, there's additional information. Perhaps I want to learn about words associated with major news lessons. And you can see it's very COVID heavy in this case. And if I want to go to KidSpeak, this is the immersive fun learning.
Komm, jetzt wird's lustig.
Can everybody hear that?
Lieder. Komm, wir singen Lieder. Das ABC-Lied.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Komm, jetzt wird's lustig.
And I'm going to back out of this. So Kids Speak is available in 6 languages on the website, and I'm hoping you could hear it play.
We
I
could.
adjusted, oh good, because that was a little uncertain on my end. So I'm glad you could hear that. This is the main page again and the learning path, and then you have all these other options, but there are thousands and thousands of words and phrases for you to practice to learn a language. And like I said, you can jump through any language at any time. Some people will have some knowledge like left over from high school, for example. You don't have to start at the beginning, you can start in the middle. There is also an app for Transparent Language Online, or you could learn your language on the computer. Both of them will sync with each other. And then I'm trying to be very mindful of the time, and I wanted to show you and give you a preview of what is coming up. So we are adding American Sign Language, and that's kind of exciting because that is a very popular language. It usually ranks about 4. And many colleges and universities will accept sign language as one of their language requirements. We are also being mindful of the many Afghan refugees that are arriving in the United States, and we'll be offering ESL for those speakers of Dari and Pashto. So at this time, I'll just see if there's any questions. I see there's something down there. Oh, cute dog. So that was very sweet. Thank you very much. Do you see anything else, Jeff?
No, Debbie, I haven't seen any other questions coming in. I will say, we'll renew your offer. If anyone wants to ask a question, feel free to put something into the chat or into the Q&A module. I'd be very excited to see the ASL module when that's live. That's exciting. I feel as though I've never seen that before in a language learning suite.
Yeah, and it won't be the kind of thing where you just click on it and get zipped off to a website. It's fully integrated into Transparent Language Online. So, I mean, complete with videos and so forth. And it'll be part of the learning path, just like all our other languages. I think it's going to be really exciting. We've had a lot of requests.
We have had one question come in. It says, do you know when the new modules will be available to patrons?
Yeah, so we're expecting American Sign Language January 1st. So far we're on track, with technology. And then this is in development, but it should be coming soon. I don't have an exact date. Nobody gives you exact dates, but we're expecting that also. Their target time is January 1st as well.
Great, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I will switch over my screen back to you, or do you just take it?
We'll have to have you end sharing. There should be a button to stop sharing, and then I'll start mine. Oh, there you go. Thank you again,
Thank you.
Debbie. Great presentation. I'm excited to learn more about modules as they come out as well. We'll have to have you back.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to switch back to screen share one more time for, well, actually it'll be 2 more times, but just to get us set up for our final presenter today. We have a special treat today. We have rolled out some new features to our MyWiLS online web portal, and joining us today is going to be Lisa Martin, my colleague here at WiLS, to talk about some of the new features that we recently rolled out. Lisa, are you there?
Hey Jeff, can you hear me?
We can hear you. All right, I'm going to
Awesome.
stop sharing my screen so that you can start yours.
All right. Okay, you should see a picture of me.
We do.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So, hey everyone, I'm Lisa Martin. I'm the financial coordinator here at WiLS. I work closely with the co-op team to ensure that the database that houses all of your subscriptions and account information runs smoothly. Back in 2014, we recognized the need to streamline our subscription management service, as we used to email close to 3,000 individual PDF quotes to our members and then manually update them back into our system. So we wanted one centralized portal where our members could access their account and contact information, as well as update their renewal decisions for their subscriptions through WiLS. Enter MyWiLS. So it certainly has changed over the past 7 or so years. And we're really excited to show you some of the latest updates. So first off, as you can see, the overall look was kind of refreshed and it's just a lot cleaner. And as long as you're enabled in our database, you can log in using your email address or register for a new account if you haven't already. So when you log in, it'll take you to the institutional and contact information page. And we also have subscriptions up at the top and help and resources as well. And to the right, you can click on your email address. You can change your password right within MyWiLS, or you can log out. So you can expand and collapse your institutional information and your contacts either by clicking the plus or minus button, or you can click anywhere within that header section as well. One new thing that we added to the institutional information section, which is really important to us, especially me, when I'm creating and sending invoices, is the invoicing preferences field. So this was actually a backend field that only WiLS staff could see, but we decided that we should give MyWiLS users the ability to view and update it on their own. So this field is an open text field that you can fill in with pretty much anything. You can update it to say mail or email. You can have it say separate by database, vendor, start date, invoice everything together, invoice everything separately. You can also have it say something like email high school invoices to XYZ and middle school invoices to ABC. We will cater to your invoicing needs. It is account wide, so do keep that in mind when updating it, that it will I will see it for every invoice that I create, and I'll try to adhere to those preferences as much as possible. So you just enter in mail and then hit save, and then those will be mailed out, and then it says it was saved. So under contacts, we added a pronouns field, so members or users can disclose their pronouns if they so choose. You choose your preferred pronouns and you can hit save down below. We also cleaned up the number of fields visible. There were a lot of extra fields that we just felt weren't very relevant anymore. Each time you save or update a contact, you have to save for each contact. You can't make a bunch of changes to a bunch of contacts and hit save once. It'll only save for that particular one that you're on. Let's see, under the subscriptions section, we also cleaned up quite a bit here. This top section, we cleaned up and we added a link to our cancellation policy, which opens up in a new tab. And I'll let you read that at your leisure. And then under each tab, you can also expand and collapse, just like institutional contact information, plus or minus, or anywhere within the header. So you can also download PDFs now of each subscription. That's a new thing. It does open up, it downloads as a separate for each individual one. I don't know if you can see what I just opened, it's in a different page. But that's a really cool feature that we added and we're really happy with. For each subscription, we cleaned up the fields that are visible, made it more clear of what your price is, which already includes the WiLS service fee that's listed to the right of it. We also kept the top section kind of the same throughout each different tabs. So all the start, end, and your price, that's always going to be on your top right throughout each tab up here. And then vendor and database is also in the top 2 or 3. So just so you don't have to go digging for that information, is always going to be in the same area. For those of you who are maybe new to using MyWiLS, I'm just going to run through a quick submission for you. Under the needs approval tab, you'll see which subscriptions are still open in our system that need tending to. So we have our, the subscription type. This one's a renewal. It's for Mercury's Coffee Company's Starburst Tea. It started July 1st, so I'm really overdue on responding to this. It said it needed to be responded to by June 15th. My price is $5.75. So I can either confirm my order or I can cancel my order. For this one, I'm going to confirm it. just by clicking on yes. And then you get to choose your invoicing preference, which is specific to this particular subscription. And so these include waiting for PO, which is, WiLS will wait for a purchase order before sending an invoice. You can also choose invoice now, which means we'll send it sometime in the next week, depending on my schedule. There's also invoice later, and you can choose the date that you want to be invoiced. So January 1st, 2022, if you want. And then deduct from deposit account and deduct from deposit account later. You have the ability to have a deposit account here at WiLS where we can hold your money, and then as you submit your decisions, if you say deduct from deposit account, we will simply deduct that amount from the deposit account, and each month you'll get a statement with your current balance. So I'm going to say no, purchase order is completely optional here, but I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, and invoice me on January 1st. So you need to put your name and your email in, those are required. If you are renewing, you can say why you're purchasing this. It's completely optional, as well as this first checkbox here to share more information about how you're using it. You don't have to include those, but you can, and we might hit you up for some feedback. And then this checkbox, this last one, is required. It is simply saying that you understand that submitting the form constitutes a contractual agreement to purchase the product above. Simply put, you're saying, yep, I will pay you. And then you hit save, and it goes through. Now, there we go. I don't know if any of you remember, but I think it was last year in 2020 when it took forever for it to save, like 2 minutes, which is a really long time when you have multiple subscriptions to submit. So one of the updates from the new developer was to cut down that save time to seconds. And so this one actually took slightly a little longer than it normally does, but it's really fast now, which is awesome. So you can also say, don't confirm my order. That means you'll be canceling it. So, you fill out your name and your email, you say why you're not renewing it. And then your checkbox indicates that you understand submitting it will cancel your subscription and access at the end of the current term. So that's how you submit a subscription. You can also see which subscriptions might need a purchase order number. And those are really easy. You just, when you have your purchase order number, you enter it, you hit save, and then that moves it into the invoice now queue. So that will be put into my queue to invoice in the next, anywhere from today to next week. Let's see, the WiLS to invoice tab, these just include your subscriptions that are in my invoicing queue for me to create and send you the invoices for. The needs payment tab, those are invoices or subscriptions that have been invoiced and sent to you, but we have not been paid. So you can see which ones, this one was invoice 12004 from March 15th. So that's a super overdue invoice. So you can see which ones still need to be paid. And then in the history tab, that shows your subscriptions from the past 2 fiscal years, the July to June fiscal years. And those have been ordered and paid or canceled, one of the two. And then if you ever need a refresher or any help, we have the help and resources tab or section at the top. You click on that and it takes you to this website. You can contact us. You can read the MyWiLS user manual, which actually is pretty much what I just did. Just kind of walking you through the various fields and steps. And then there's also an FAQ at the bottom. It's just a PDF that downloads. You can fill out price quote form on this page, and you can also fill out a form to receive monthly statements for your invoice account. You can always email us at coop@wils.org. And that's all I have. So I'll open it up to any questions.
Lisa, 2 questions have come in.
Yes.
The first says, thanks for the pronouns field. I'm just curious, is there a plan to let folks choose more than one or perhaps input their own?
Oh, I will make a note of that. We hadn't thought of that, but yeah, let me make a note of that because we actually have another small enhancements list that we might be taking to the developer soon. Thank you.
Sure. And the other question is, how quickly are the needs payment or items on the needs payment tab updated? There were some invoices that, according to our records, were paid, but are still listed in that column.
Yeah, so because WiLS is a completely remote company, we actually have a PO box. We don't have a central office, so all of our mail goes to a PO box, and then once a week, all of that mail is sent to our oh, I don't remember Nick's. It's Nick. It's a operations assistant, I believe is his title. And so he goes through and you know, gets those checks once a week, and so it really depends on USPS how fast they are at sending those, you know. So I would say there's probably a 2-week delay in getting those once they've been sent from your office, 2 to 2.5 weeks probably.
So if something seems like it's longer, really probably true of anything with WiLS. If it seems like something's taking longer than it seems like it should just reach out to us and we'll see what we can find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Always reach out if you have questions or are unsure, and we'll let you know.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I can say that I'm thrilled with the new functionality in MyWiLS. I know that members are taking advantage of it, but it's really great to be able to show them what's new. And I will also say, oh, what terrible memories of all the PDFs before in the world before MyWiLS. It was such an incredible amount of copying, pasting, attaching, sending.
Oh, yes.
I'm gonna okay. Well, again, thanks so much, Lisa, for joining us today. And I will actually say thank you to all of our presenters for being with us today for Taco Tuesday. We are coming up to the end of our time, so I'll say thank you all for attending and joining us to learn about new features from WiLS, but also from some of our valued vendor partners. We will be back again next month. In fact, I think we're going to do a Taco Tuesday every month from now on, at least until the end of the calendar year. So the next session will be on October 5th, but we already have our some of our presenters lined up for November and are starting to look ahead to December as well. So as always, feel free to reach out to me, Jeff Bruner, or Sarah Gold, or you can contact any of us at coop@wils.org. If you've got questions about any of the things you've seen today, if you're looking for pricing, if you're looking for a more in-depth demonstration or trial, we're happy to help you out with those things. And one more time, thank you to our presenters. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time.